Hello and welcome to the AWS sessions. In this video, we are going to talk about AWS in general, its infrastructure, how it is spread across the world, and how we can leverage that to create our infrastructure. You will need an AWS free tier account, which we have already covered how to do in prerequisites video. So please go through that. If you have not done, set up an AWS free tier account, set an alarm for billing, go to IAM and set up an IAM user. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now, then check the prerequisites video. So before we continue, let me tell you this. This will be mostly hands-on as the rest of the course, but whenever we need some explanation on AWS service, we are going to pull up slides and run through some theory and some diagrams. But I promise to keep it minimum and have more on hands-on. So AWS is the biggest cloud computing provider today, with more than 46% market share as we are speaking right now. And it may grow or go less, that depends on the future. But in today's time, it's the biggest cloud computing provider or public cloud computing provider. And for that reason, AWS is spread across the world, across the globe. It has its presence in so many countries, which is called as regions, and it's everyday growing. Within the region, AWS has multiple zones. Think of zones as multiple data centers. One zone is multiple data center, and in a region you may have minimum 2 zones and maximum I have seen 6 zones, and a single zone means multiple data centers, clustered data centers. So it's huge. I'm going to show you nice diagrams and 3D view of the globe to make you understand how it is spread. So AWS claims that its global infrastructure is the most secure, extensive and reliable cloud platform. And currently, as I'm speaking, in December 2020, it has 175 fully featured services. That's too many services. I'll go through the services, not all of them, but I will help you understand how these services are distributed for different categories. It has 77 availability zones with 24 geographic regions. So as I told you, you have zones in a region. So one region will have minimum 2 zones, and a single zone is multiple clustered data centers. So total 77 availability zones. And this is in December 2020, and it has announced plans for 15 more availability zones, 5 more AWS regions. One new region is coming up in Hyderabad, and then you have Indonesia, Japan, Spain, Switzerland, where new data centers are coming up, or new regions we can say. So it can be best understood by looking at the entire globe. This is a link to a website where we can see all this. Okay, if you visit this site, infrastructure.aws, you will see the globe, and let's see how we do it. Okay, so you can use your cursor and rotate the entire globe. You can see, as I told you, Hyderabad is an upcoming region, and you should see its presence. It's in Bahrain, it's in Europe, it's so many countries. These are the regions we are seeing mostly. Oops, what did I click? I click on Spain. Okay, that's it. It says coming soon. Okay, so if you click on region, it will tell you what really a region is. If you click on availability zone, it will show you some sample and tell you what is an availability zone, the data centers. So you can see, you can read about it. One availability zone will have many data centers in it, and how it is now secure, and the surveillance and the uptime, all of that. Along with that, with regions and zone, it will also have local zones. So these are the new types of data centers from AWS, which will place compute, storage, database and some other services closer to a large population, like big city where you have a lot of customers, like that. Then you have point of presence, which are also the edge location. So it is going to cache. This is for the AWS content delivery network, where it is going to cache the data which will be used by the user. So it's very small data centers compared to the availability zones. Okay, then you have ground stations and you have network, and you can see all of that. Okay, check the color. Yellow is for region, Green is for region, which is coming soon. Like you see Hyderabad, it says green. Let me see if I can zoom that. I cannot zoom it. Okay, that much is the size. So some city in China where we have this region has 3 availability zones. Okay, so you can check like that. So if you want to understand how these regions and zones really work, so if you have multiple zones, you can do high availability for your infrastructure. You can, let's say, place 2 web server in one zone and other 2 in the other zones, right? So if you have total 4 web server, you can distribute them to get high availability, right? Even if a zone goes down or if it becomes slow, then other part of your infrastructure will be still up and running. When you have multiple regions, you can cater global audience and you can also set disaster recovery. And this is not a feature that you can like just enable. You have to do a lot of things when you're doing a disaster recovery in between 2 regions. Also, when you're running a project, right, it will have compliances, right, about the data residency, um, security and other compliances. So those things should be fitting in with the AWS compliance. And for that reason also you have regions at different countries. And geographic expansion, of course. When you're expanding your business, you can use the AWS global infrastructure. You don't have to build your data centers around the world. So availability zone, as I said, you can have multiple availability zone and you can distribute your infrastructure among multiple availability zones in a region to get high availability. So for an example, if you're launching a virtual machine, which we call it as instance in AWS, you can select the availability zone, or you can let AWS decide the availability zone for you. And when you're designing application, the infrastructure layout, you can select the multiple zones in a region and distribute your infrastructure, and the traffic will also that is coming towards your infrastructure will get distributed. So that's some overall theory on AWS regions and zones and its edge locations. Let's see the AWS console now. So I'm logged into AWS Management Console. With my root account, I have explained in the prerequisites video how to get this and how to use IAM user. So log into your AWS Management Console with an IAM user. And when I said AWS has 175 fully featured services, right? You can see them over here. There are so many services and you can go in and there are more services. But really don't get scared by looking at the number of services. You don't have to learn all of them. It's based on what area you're working in, where is your expertise. Based on that, you will be using a particular service. Like for example, if you are a system admin or a DevOps, you want a virtual machine, you can use EC2 service. Right? But then there is a quantum technology, Amazon Bracket. You may not need to learn that. Or media services you also have services in machine learning, you will have services in analytics, or blockchain, or robotics, or IoT. So there are many sections based on the user requirement. AWS is catering the right service for a particular user. Our focus in the course will be on SysOps and DevOps services and also some developer services. Like we are going to see EC2 service, Beanstack service, which is more related to DevOps. Storage services will be seeing S3 and EFS and Glacier. Database services like RDS and also Elastic Cache. Then there are services for migration and transfer. We're also going to see some networking services like VPC, CloudFront, Route 53. Also we'll be seeing developer tools like Code Commit, Code Artifact, Code Build, Code Deploy, Code Pipeline. So based on our requirement, as I said, we are going to focus more on SysOps and DevOps services. We'll be also seeing monitoring services like CloudWatch and also some compliance services. I think SysOps gives you a very solid ground on AWS services. Based on that, you can learn then most of the other services in AWS, which will be very easy. If you have good hands on the SysOps services of AWS, then you should be able to learn the DevOps services, the developer services, security services, networking services. Again, then the path is based on your requirement. Here we have the regions. So in a project, you can decide based on the requirement, or you will be already told a particular region to use or a few regions to use. So when you select a particular region, with right now it's North California, so it will be using the zones in the North California region. So my data will, whatever data I'm storing over here is going to North California data centers. But for some compliance reason, you don't want to keep it in US, you can probably go to European regions, or to cater your audience based on their geographic location. So for this course, I will be mostly using US based region. You are free to choose any other region. I still recommend use US based region because some other regions like Singapore, Mumbai, Tokyo are expensive compared to US region. Not that we'll be spending money too much on AWS, we'll be using free tier mostly. But there are certain places where we have to go above free tier and spend some money on AWS services. And when that comes, I'm going to alert you and will show you also how to clean up once you're done so you don't spend too much money. So that is all in this video. I will see you in the next one where we'll actually do something nice.